about the 32X. See, in the early 90s, Sega and Nintendo were bitter rivals, and they were constantly trying to one-up each other, but instead of trying to make better games or better gaming experience for the customers, Sega just decided to try and make more hardware. They came up with two add-ons to the Sega Genesis, the Sega CD and the 32X. The Sega CD is well known for its use of full-motion video and Sonic CD. The 32X, well, it has a reputation that precedes itself. I've mentioned it before in passing, but this will be the first time I take a serious look at a game for the system. I got my 32X around 1996 for around $20, which is about 10% the initial asking price. I only got one because I wanted to play Knuckles Chaotix, the only game in the Sonic series that was released for the console. It wasn't until recently that I started picking up other 32X games just out of curiosity, so let's take a look at Metalhead. When I first got this game, I was sent a copy that looks like it might still be in the original packaging. I don't know if this is just repackaged or a new box or what, but this game is pretty cheap, so I just got another beat-up copy just to be safe. Pretty much all 32X games had this junky cardboard packaging, which was a step backwards from the Genesis solid boxes that really stood the test of time. This beat-up copy of the game even came with a subscription ad for Sega Visions magazine. Yeah, that magazine's been out of print for about 21 years now, so I'm kinda curious what'll happen if I send this in. Enough bullshit, let's boot this fucker up. The story of Metalhead is basically that the New World Order has taken over the Earth with giant mechs called Metalheads. A group of freedom fighters has assembled their own mechs and taken back a country that's crucial to the World Federation. Now, as it is, that's not a bad plot for a game, but there's one obvious problem. Guess which side we're on? The freedom fighters rebelling against an evil militant government regime? No, we're working for the World Federation! The game starts up and tells us that we're in the Illuminati or some shit, and we gotta keep the people of the world in check. Who the fuck wrote this? At any rate, the game throws you into a semi-3D world. I say semi-3D because up and down don't really exist. It's still cool that you can choose between first and third perspective. Graphically, well, it's no Doom. The backgrounds are very busy, but oftentimes the game can't render what's directly in front of you. Luckily, this distance is pretty far out and doesn't cause too many problems with the gameplay, except for when you're chasing an enemy that's running away. Most of the buildings all look exactly the same, so it's a good thing that you have a map. The first time you play this, you're probably just going to find yourself wandering around trying to find enemies. Sometimes your mission is search and destroy, but sometimes it's to get from point A to point B. There's a little bit of variety to the missions, which is nice. At the beginning of each stage, you'll get a briefing from briefing guy? It uses real voice, but the talk animation is really choppy. It's like even worse than in Star Fox. Plus you can tell the voice actors didn't give even one shit.
I wasn't paid to give a shit.
Yeah. I'm also pretty glad to see that Grandpa Seth from Troll 2 could continue to haunt us from beyond the grave.
Powers of evil are very strong here. I must leave.
Why the fuck is he the guy that's selling us all of our weapons? I just keep on hoping he's gonna freeze time mid-combat so I can get out of my mech and go piss on the other robots' electronics.
And you can't piss on hospitality! I won't allow it!
You do have the ability to customize your Metalhead with different weapons, but I pretty much just use the upgraded chain gun and extra armor. The grenade launcher is handy if you have the money. The worst weapon you can choose is the laser. Look at how slow this thing shoots! It's fucking light! Shouldn't it be the fastest thing in the universe? Oh, wait, no, maybe that's supposed to be Sonic. So wait, does this count as a Sonic game now? In all seriousness though, never get the laser. You can only change equipment every 3 levels or when you die. Look at this, my shots won't blow this mech up. Maybe if he wasn't moving faster than fucking light, this wouldn't be so damn hard. And holy shit, I had 1 health left. I shouldn't even have had to fight this guy in the first place, because my gun just won't blow him up. Maybe the gun is too tall. So let me retract my earlier statement. This game is 3D. Well, better yet, it's 2D with a third dimension there just to fuck you. Easily the hardest part of this game is learning the controls. You can use a 3-button or 6-button controller, but they kind of both suck. In these older 3D games, you had to designate a button to strafe. In this case, I use the A button, otherwise you'll just be looking around. You also have to have a run button, which in my case is the C button, and learning how to use these together is the key to maneuverability in combat. But you also need to be able to shoot, which is the B button. Clearly, it's hard to be jumping around over all of these buttons in combat when they're so spread apart and you need to use all 3 of them. If there was a way that I could set the fire button to X, Y, or Z, or even the mode, which is like a trigger on the controller, this game would control like a dream. But you can't. So I spent the whole game holding the controller like a jackass just so I could manage this shit. I never found a reason to use the sideways camera views since it would always be faster or safer to just turn around or run away, so 2 of the buttons were completely wasted for me. It's too bad you can't assign them however you want. That really is this game's largest learning curve, is getting down the controls, but once you've got it mastered, this game's a piece of cake. Since you're often fighting in city streets or areas with plenty of cover, I used basically the same strategy as in Darkened Sky. Hide behind cover, pop out and shoot, hide again, repeat. There are many situations where this won't work. Even if you don't have cover, just try to keep an eye on your radar. It will show you where incoming projectiles are, and since we can move faster than light apparently, it's no problem to avoid them with a little situational awareness and a can-do attitude. The minimap is one of the most useful features. I wish I could manually change the range or even bring it up on the pause menu to take a look at a consistent north-south layout. At one point in the game, it tells me about like going to a coordinate.
Pass the coordinate A2B4 shortly.
Should that mean something to me? The map does have a coordinate system, but I think mine has a few more digits than that in it. What the fuck does that even mean? As I said before, a lot of the buildings look the same, so it would have been nice if there was a few landmarks labeled on the map. Plus, sometimes the map likes to flicker in and out mid-combat, making it kind of hard to read. I'm not sure if this is a frame rate issue or a processing problem. In the grand scheme of things, though, it's not a big deal. In some of the later levels, the map disappears completely. I thought at first maybe this was because I went underground, so maybe I lost sync with radar or something, but then it happened again when I was trying to save the president.
The life of the president is in our hands.
Her life is in your hands.
No, don't say.
Mr. Lebowski asked me to repeat that. Her life is in your hands. Her life is in your hands, dude.
You know, the briefing guy does look a little bit like Philip Seymour Hoffman.
That's marvelous.
Another strategy I used a lot was to just avoid battles. In stages where the mission has just reached the objective, there's no incentive to stand around and fight. Especially since I can beat the game with just the minimal equipment upgrades. After all, it's fight or flight response. No need to ignore the latter. Besides, in the stages with doors, enemies will just respawn when you go back through them, so fuck it. If you do try to run through the game, just watch out for mines that are laying on the ground in the later stages. They can do a shitload of damage and are easily avoided. One thing I found odd is that the box clearly states that this game has multiplayer ability, but it doesn't. So if you're looking for a game to play with a friend, this isn't it. But that may not be a bad thing. This game really isn't too difficult once you learn the controls. Even the final boss isn't very aggressive. No need to change strategies. Ever. Just strafe and shoot. It's kind of funny that the end credits kind of imply that there's gonna be a sequel, but now I'm confused. It says, after joining forces with the Peacekeepers, Metalhead must assault and destroy the evil syndicate. The mission continues. Isn't that what we just did? Shouldn't this have been at the beginning of the game, or was the sequel just gonna be the exact same game? Overall, this game is not great, but playable. Kinda like Jewel Master, I can beat it in about an hour once I know what I'm doing. Personally, I think the graphics are bad, but forgivably bad in retrospect, even if they were bad for their time. This game's greatest folly may be just its lack of ambition. If you already have a 32X and you're looking for a way to kill an evening, there are worse games. If not, I'd just steer clear of Metalhead.